Welcome to an exciting powerboating adventure with owners of Midnight Express Boats, based right here in Miami, and we are headed off to Bimini for the first annual Midnight Express Bimini Rendezvous. It is April of 2019, and we have got beautiful weather here in South Florida as we kick things off at Holliver Marine Center. This video production is presented by the Florida Powerboat Club. This is Stu Jones, and we have been asked by Midnight Express owners Harris Glazer and Eric Glazer to not only produce this event for them, but also follow up with a wonderful video, a souvenir for all those who attended, in a variety of Midnight Express models that span from their 37-foot cabin edition all the way up to the 43 open. And the real storyline here is that many of these Midnight Express owners are about to enjoy the performance and the amenities of these amazing Midnight Express models as they visit Bimini for their very first time. And kicking things off here on this early Friday morning in April at Holliver Marine Center, which is headquarters for Midnight Express when it comes to doing customer deliveries and test rides. And there's no better facility because they can handle all of the big boats, including the very popular 43-foot open model and the very brand new 60-foot P. DeMar, which is unfortunately not going to join us for this event because the owner just couldn't make his schedule work. But let's talk about the people who did make it, and they've come from all over Florida, and some have come from as far away as New York or even California to attend this event on this early morning now, getting the boats loaded and getting ready for that crossing over the Gulf Stream, which is just 52 miles from Holliver Inlet over to Bimini. A perfect launch pad here at Holliver Marine Center, as well as lots of help here on the dock to load all the luggage. And of course, plenty of fresh Einstein's coffee and bagels on the dock just to put a little something in their belly as we head out on the Gulf Stream for this short 1.5 hour ride to Bimini. Now, as we watch all of our crews get ready and getting the boats loaded and ready for the ride, I do want to mention that behind the scenes, the evening before, we all met at Duffy's Sports Grill just about a half a mile away, and it was an opportunity to meet everybody, many of them for the first time, and we could distribute all of the captain's materials. But the most important thing that we did ahead of time was we filled out all of those tedious Bahamas Customs papers, those many forms that require all of the passport numbers, addresses, and details about your crew. We got that all out of the way on the night before. We put all those documents into a captain's kit and into a bag, sealed and delivered, ready for when we hit the dock in Bimini. And as we leave the docks and head out into the Intracoastal Waterway, I just want to mention how much we appreciate and thank all of the staff at Holliver Marine Center for rolling out the red carpet and giving us a great staging location where we could raft up safely overnight to load the boats, and nobody was charged for any docking fees. So thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. It's a beautiful morning here at the Holliver Marine Center in Miami. It's the middle of April, and it seems like it's summer. Warm temperatures already, only 8 in the morning. Very light winds today, blue skies, the kind of weather you need to go to Bimini. And that's what we're doing with Team Midnight Express today. Altogether, about 15 boats registered, all Midnight Express owners from 37s to 43s, and every boat is loaded and everybody's ready for a great weekend in Bimini. It's going to be our first shot to Bimini this year. It's 2019, getting kicked off with some friends of ours from the Florida Powerboat Club, but most importantly, the family from Midnight Express, our first annual Midnight Express Bimini Rendezvous. Let's go! I had a chance to ride on board this brand new 43-foot Midnight Express powered by 5 Mercury Racing Verado 400Rs. Eric Glazer himself at the helm, who has joined us on so many Florida Powerboat Club events over the years. We don't see his brother Harris very often. He stays back and minds the fort. So today we're riding on board with Eric Glazer and all his buddies. Maggie didn't get up early, so she's going to fly over. I'm joined also by my son Tyler Jones, who came along to help us out. And it's my first chance to really take a ride on this 43 offshore. I've been on the boat before, running down through the bay waters on the Key West Poker Run and various Florida Powerboat Club events, but today I'm going to get a chance to hang out at the helm and really see how this beast runs, and I know I'm going to be impressed. And I think it's kind of ironic that you look at the shot of this boat and it seems like it's half empty. You know, we've got 8 people on board and there's plenty of room for 8 more, and I think that's one of the unique qualities of these big center console boats, is that you can bring all your friends, plenty of room for everybody, lots of seating, and a comfortable ride as we're about to experience all the way over to Bimini. And like any Florida Powerboat Club event, this Midnight Express Rendezvous is about to enjoy a helicopter photo crew joining us as we take off through Haulover Inlet. That's why we're staging right here, waiting for all the boats to catch up and waiting for the helicopter to arrive so we can get some fantastic photos and video for all of our participants, and of course create this wonderful YouTube video to share with all of our viewers. Well, from up here, it looks like we have got fantastic conditions getting ready for this ride across the Gulf Stream, flying with Florida Coast to Coast Helicopter. It's a Robinson R44. This is who we almost always fly with. They came down out of Pompano Beach, Florida to join us today. And it looks like we've got pretty much everybody together, but we are missing about 4 teams, and that's because some of the boats that are joining us are coming out of Boca Raton. Obviously, that's quite a bit further to the north, so it did not make much sense for any of them to come all the way down the beach and join us here. I told them, if you did, you're going to get a helicopter shot, but no, they went off from the Boca Inlet at a different time, so we missed them on the start. Of course, we're going to catch up with them later in the show. But what I can say about those boats that are leaving out of Boca is that they're all 43s, and they all have some very interesting features. And as we turn to make our way out the inlet, one thing that we did address in the captain's safety meeting the night prior was that it's clear that not all of these boats are going to run at the same pace, because here we have, our official pace boat, a 43 with 5 Mercury Racing 400Rs. Then we have some of these slightly older 37-foot models, which are pretty heavy, especially the cabin model, and they're powered by triple Mercury 350. So clearly a power discrepancy of well over 1,000 horsepower, which will of course translate to a different comfort zone as far as cruising speeds, and I'm pretty sure that will eventually separate the lead boats from the following boats, and that's pretty normal on these events. We all have pretty much mapped out the course that we're going to take. We know what heading we're on. We're all using the latest in Garmin chart plotters, and I think it's important that every boat or every captain just find the groove that's comfortable for your crew and for your equipment, and just maintain that speed that's good for you. And yes, it does create some separation in the boats, but let's face it, these are all very reliable Mercury Racing outboards or Mercury Marine 350 Verados, and we know that we're traveling as a group, so what we would typically do is if the front runners do get too far ahead, it's always nice to just come off plane and let the rest of the pack catch up. So we did that a couple of times along the way as we crossed the Gulf Stream, and I know that a few of the other boats appreciated that when they finally came up and saw some of the front runners waiting for them, and that's just a comfortable way of doing it, and it worked out really well. And today's course to Bimini is going to be a bit of a zigzag from the start. In other words, we are not going to take an immediate heading coming from Haulover Inlet, and the reason for that is that we are flying with a helicopter that has its limitations on how far it can fly offshore, FAA regulations, and also having to do with the nature of the helicopter. It's a piston-powered helicopter, not a turbine-powered chopper, and they have limitations on how far they're willing to fly. So we thought it would be best to turn and head south to begin with, and it turns out that there's 2 other boats waiting for us down around Government Cut. So that worked out quite well as we headed south, about an 8 or a 10 mile ride down to Government Cut. before we would then turn and then nail a heading for Bimini. So let's begin to introduce all of our teams, starting off with Travis and Teresa Nicholson, all the way from New York. I just love the color of this boat. It's like a metallic silver. The colors are matched on the motors. But you notice how all the trim and hardware is all blacked out? I think it's a great look.
I'm walking away.
And here's another 43 Open. This is Tony and Rhonda Zielinski, came over from the Fort Myers area in Florida. 4 Mercury Racing 400Rs, and it's all set up for fishing. Look, you've got the rods out, and I know that they're planning on doing some fishing this weekend, so we'll have to keep up with them, and hopefully they'll have a good catch this weekend, and when they're not hanging out in the casino. And with the blue hull sides, this boat has a striking resemblance to our official Pace boat. The only difference is this one has quad power, and we're running with 5 Mercury Racing 400. So now Eric Glazer was telling me that it does change the ride attitude of the boat just a bit, because with the 4-motor setup, the motors are just a little deeper in the water. It will change the ride a little different from the 5-engine setup, because they've got to raise those outside motors a little higher up. And continuing south along the beach here with the 2 boats in frame, and as we close in now on Eric Glazer's 43, this is the factory entry 43 Open with 5 Mercury Racing 400Rs. What a great running machine. And as I said earlier, you know, I've been on these boats a lot, but this was going to be my first time to really have a good ride as we crossed over the Gulf Stream in this Midnight 43. You can see that we're still running south, and that's because with that sun in the background that's come up out of the east, it's creating this really cool kind of artistic shot. We would normally turn the boats and run them north so that we really get, you know, blazing colors on the sides of the boats. That happens when we have low sun, but clearly we don't want to head north when it's going to take us completely out of route. But this little run has given everybody a chance to really get the boats dialed in and find the speed that they're comfortable with. I think that we're really going to be in the best conditions that we have early in the morning, and I know that as we make the turn and get more out into the Gulf Stream, we are getting, you know, into the closer to the 9 o'clock hour now, and I do believe that the seas are going to build somewhat, but for the time being they look pretty docile, and we're all dialed in at a nice comfortable 55 miles per hour. Now let's say hi to Lee Gramas from Ohio in this 43 Midnight Open, 4 Mercury 350 Verados. And this is a boat that has a paint scheme that many of us can recognize. If you've been following the Midnight family over the years, this boat caught a lot of eyes when it was first came out. It had a slightly different paint job on it, and it did have different power at the time. But the blue and gold paint job with the color-matched Mercury Verados really make this boat unique. I think it's cool as hell looking, and it's running great today. I remember hanging out at Holliver Marine Center one day, and this boat was sitting out front on display all cleaned up, and a customer drove in and put his color-matched Pagani in front of it, blue and gold wheels on the Pagani. I posted a picture on my Instagram account and got thousands and thousands of views. Now let's say hi to Joel Cole and his crew. He's another one of our local boaters here with a Midnight Express 37. This one powered by triple Mercury Verado 350s. And like that other boat we saw earlier, the 43, he's got the rods out, and these guys are going to get ready to go do some fishing today. So that's what I like about this event. You got some fishing people. You got some others who are really not into fishing. They just want to cruise and maybe do some water sports. But that's how we designed this event, the Midnight Express Rendezvous, so that everybody could do a little bit of what they wanted to when we get to Bimini. So whether it's play with the stingrays and feed the stingrays, or go out and try to find some big game offshore, everybody had a chance to do whatever they wanted and still be a part of the program. Let's say hi now to Sean Zarbatani and his wife, who truly made the Midnight Express Rendezvous a family affair. They brought 3 kids all together. 2 of them are theirs, and the other one, I believe 6 years old, belongs to another couple that joined them. So shout out to you guys for making it a family event. I think that's a great idea. It looks like we're just coming down off plane to regroup and get ready for that big money shot. Let's go catch up to the rest of the boats so we can get everybody gathered up here, because we have got some big plans to get that ultimate money shot as we group up and head eastbound to Bimini. Now let's welcome Mark Tupler, also from South Florida, 37-foot Midnight Express with triple Mercury 350 Verados. And with this light blue hull sides, strikingly similar to Joe Cole's boat that we saw just a moment ago. The only difference being that he's got this big canopy on top, which is great for crossing over to Bimini. You want to stay out of that hot sun, and this is the way to do it. Just 3 on board here with this crew, and I know that Mark's girlfriend was a little bit concerned about the rough waters and going too fast, so they're just going to take it easy at the back of the pack. So we just pulled things off plane for a moment so we could gather everybody up and rendezvous with these other 2 boats. There's Steve Lampura. He came out of Government Cut with this 43, kind of a nice burnt orange with quad Mercury Verado power. So this is the part of my job that I really love, and it's all part of the planning. We're talking to the helicopter pilot, but we asked everybody on the radio to try to get in some type of a formation and let our boat, the 43 pace boat, just take off ahead. And they all just kind of fell into place, and it was almost like it was orchestrated, and we had practiced this for days. But just look at this formation as we get up on plane. Everyone maintains the right amount of speed, and everyone just flanks out off to the sides. This, guys, is what I call the money shot. I get chills just looking at it, and it was really exciting to set that up, and I couldn't wait to see the image from the sky, because I think there's nothing cooler than this. Just look at how cool this is as we head out into the Gulf Stream with Miami in the backdrop. So one more time, there's your historic money shot, the first annual Midnight Express Bimini Rendezvous. Start off with all of the Midnight Express owners getting into a fine formation as we leave Miami and head out into the Gulf Stream. That is an amazing shot. Wow. And one more time with this Midnight 43 Open, Lee Gramas from Ohio, this 2-tone Midnight 43 golden blue metallic. And we're going to turn into the sun a little more now, so the boats are going to start to get lit up a little better and easier to see just how beautiful everyone is. Now let's say hi to Richard and Linda Casso from Miami in their 37-foot Midnight powered by triple Mercury 300s. This is Team Bare Bottom, and she's all yellow. I love the yellow color too. Now Rich is, he's a seasoned powerboater. In fact, he's a boat racer from Miami from the 80s and the 90s, and he's a club member with Florida Powerboat Club. So I enjoyed hanging out with him and talking about the past, the old days a little bit. But you can see that he's just got the throttles buried, and he's having a great ride, just digging in and eating this water up as he heads out into the Gulf Stream. Everyone's got their own space and their own line picked out now as Travis and Teresa Nicholson in their 43 with quad Mercury 400Rs. And they have got some Midnight Express factory team on board. I know that Harris Glazer and his wife are riding on board with them. And you can see, my comments a minute ago about how the sun is going to light the boats up much better. You can see better now just the coloring of this boat and how it's laid out. They've color coordinated the motors to match the hulls of the boat. There's no chrome or stainless evident on the boat. Everything's all blacked out. All the rails are blacked out. You can see all the equipment and all the nav hardware on top is all blacked out. Travis, we got one more step to go, man. We need to get you a blacked out anchor, and then you're done. Everything matches. Now we're getting a closer look at Steve and Jane Lampera on this 43 with this burnt orange, beautiful paint job, Quad Mercury 350s. What a great package. He's even got his quarantine flag already up for when he arrives in Bimini. They're from the Chicago area, and it was nice to reconnect with them. They were former club members with Florida Powerboat Club, used to run an Outer Limits speedboat, and now they're enjoying this Midnight Express. Well, it looks like the helicopter is about at its maximum 5 miles offshore as we get this last shot of the boats. Time for them to head back to Pompano Beach. Thanks to our photo and video crew from high up in the sky. As we now get back on board, you're going to be getting mostly boat-to-boat and cockpit shots as we continue the coverage of this Midnight Express Bimini Rendezvous. It looks like we're on board now with Travis Nicholson, getting some nice GoPro footage as the seas flatten out again. I think we're approaching Bimini, and that's typical, where the seas tend to be a little bit rough in the middle of the Gulf Stream, and then they flatten out as you get closer to the islands. Of course, that depends on the winds, but this was a little stop we did to wait for some of the other boats to catch up with us, and I know they appreciated that. There's those two 37s catching up, and here is Steve and Jane, and they're 43, just chilling out today, having a nice ride. You know, normally they're out yachting in their big Sunseeker, so this is kind of a nice go-fast, thrilling weekend for them. One thing I do want to point out, and maybe you can capture it in some of these images, but the color of the water has turned into a deep, like a rich blue out in the middle of the Gulf Stream. But as you do get closer to the islands, as you close in on Bimini and South Bimini, it then just sort of transcends into a like a turquoise, like an azure, greenish hue to it, and it is absolutely beautiful. So let's talk about the procedures when you arrive in Bimini. For those of you who are watching who have not done a Bimini crossing before, it's pretty easy overall, but you really have to be prepared. If you do this for the very first time with no planning, you're not going to have a good result when you get there, I can assure you. But when you come into the harbor, you'll have the main island of Bimini is on the left, North Bimini they call it, and on the right, we just came out of frame, that was South Bimini. So we're coming into North Bimini, and that's where we're going to clear customs here as we arrive now at the Big Game Club. This is a very historic property. It's been going for decades, and a lot of stars and celebrities, and rumored to have been, Hemingway spent a lot of time here back in the day. So this is an island that has a lot of heritage and a lot of history to share. It's nice to clear here because customs is right here on property, and immigration is just a little 3 or 4 minute walk down the road. So it makes it much easier to clear, and we usually tip the dockmaster about $20 per boat to come in, and maybe just a few final touches on the papers. As I said earlier, though, these forms can be tedious. It's important to do them the night before. You've got about 6 forms you got to fill out, and then you've got the immigration cards, one for each person. So it's important to get all of these things done. And while the captain is clearing the boat, the rest of the crew must remain on board or at the boat. That's very important. That's part of the law. If the customs officials decide to come and inspect the boat or board the boat, you have to have all of your crew on board so they can inspect. So you're not clear until they stamp your documents and say that you're clear and hand you your cruising permit. Now, the one downside to arriving here at the Big Game Club was that this part of the island was out of power completely. It did change the way we cleared customs. They did it outside for us. But amazingly, we all got cleared in a matter of about 45 minutes, every single team. And that was a record, I think, for doing these events for 25 years or so that I've done them. So I would highly recommend that to anybody in the future, to get all your paperwork done ahead of time. So at this point, the yellow quarantine flag comes down, and up goes the Bahamas courtesy flag. We like to fly them on the entire fleet, so we provided flags to everyone who did not have them, and I think that worked out really well. So this is the time of day we make a decision. Normally we would stay on property and enjoy a rum runner, maybe a breakfast here at the game club, but with not having any power, we were not able to do anything here, and the decision was made to head northbound to check into the resort, which was running on generator power. And I think this was a great idea because it gave everybody the chance to get settled into the slip, so they knew they were docking for the night, and they offloaded the boats with all of the luggage. Some people managed to get checked in and get rooms, but everybody else just got their luggage checked with the bellman at the front, and it made it much easier for later in the day, and it really gave us an opportunity to get acclimated to the resort and figure out where all the docking is. You can notice all floating dock marina, by the way. They've done a nice job getting this marina fixed up after Hurricane Irma. Much of it was destroyed or damaged badly, and happy to see here at the Resorts World Bimini that the marina is now fixed up and ready for business. I think that many people would agree that Resorts World Bimini was the very important addition to this resort. Obviously, Bimini Bay Resort was built years ago. Mostly it was, residential style townhomes and rented homes, luxury homes that you could get. But they didn't really have a hotel that you could stay at. And this Hilton that they built really answered that need. A lot of people come here, they just want to get a regular hotel room. They don't need to rent a big fancy house for a lot of money. The hotel rooms through our group rate were only about $220 per night. And I think that's a very reasonable rate for the quality of accommodation that they provide. We also suggest the golf cart rentals to anybody. You really do need a golf cart to get around on the island if you want to go touring around the island. Of course, you don't have to. But if you want to just hang out at the resort, you don't need one. But cruising around in Bimini is really a lot of fun. Closer look at the resort now, front lobby where everyone got checked in. And luckily, a lot of people were able to get their rooms. Remember, there's a big rush of people that are coming in on the tender boats, the boats that cross over from Miami. They bring hundreds of people over per day, and they usually arrive late in the afternoon, around 3 to 4 p.m. So it's good to beat the rush, and I learned a lot by doing this this year, getting to the hotel early, checking in, enjoying the pool, getting your room if you can, and then you're done, you're locked in for the weekend, and it's time to pretty much call the shots and do nothing at all, as these guys are doing, or get back on the boats and go for a ride.
Midnight Express!
Well, I would say that so far it has been one fantastic day with a wonderful crossing from Miami to Bimini, where everybody is now settled in here at Resorts World Bimini. But it is still early in the day on this beautiful Friday, and we have got plans to go out and enjoy Bimini for what it has to offer. The most important thing I think I love to do is feeding those stingrays down at Honeymoon Harbour. So we got back in the boats and headed that way. So we've got plenty more highlights in our next episode. While many of us went off to feed the stingrays, some of us went fishing, and we had a great party on Friday night at the Monkey Business Lounge. Saturday was a wonderful raft up on the North Beach. So we've got it all here in our next show featuring the first annual Midnight Express Bimini Rendezvous. And it's all thanks to the Midnight Express owners, Eric Glazer and Harris Glazer, who decided it was time to give back to the Midnight Express owners. This is Stu Jones. Thanks for watching. Remember to catch more episodes on our YouTube channel by finding us at Florida Powerboat Club, and remember to subscribe and click the notification bell. You guys are doing that, and it's helping us out a lot. Our numbers are up to over 16,000 regular subscribers. You can also find us on Facebook at Florida Powerboat Club, and be sure to find Midnight Express Boats on Instagram. They have an amazing following with 155,000 followers. Join on and sign up to follow them as well. And you can find an extensive photo gallery of the Midnight Express Bimini Rendezvous on the Florida Powerboat Club website at flpowerboat.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Be safe out there, and remember to always wear your life jackets. See you next time.